Welcome back to Midnight Viewing, the horror anthology podcast. We are no longer looking at George Romero's 1980s television series Tales from the Darkside because we finished last episode. You were there, everyone. No, instead, today we're going to be looking at Tales from the Darkside, the movie. And with me to do it at the projection booth is Mike White.
Oh, God, I don't have a line ready. Oh, geez, I'm sorry. Hold on 1 second. You made a promise. There we go.
There you go. And the Culture Cast Chris Stashu.
La. You're welcome for that one.
There you go. Okay. And, okay, as I said, we are looking at Tales from the Darkside, the movie. Here's the trailer.
Stephen King, originator of Pet Sematary. Arthur Conan Doyle, author of Sherlock Holmes. Michael McDowell, creator of Beetlejuice. George Romero, director of Night of the Living Dead. Now, these four masters of everlasting horror bring to the screen four tales of overwhelming terror.
I warned them, but they wouldn't listen.
Tales of diabolical fate.
You promised you'd never tell!
Tales of ghastly revenge.
Grow, O light. Rise, O light. Come forth, O light. Open his eyes.
Tales of ruthless evil.
That cat has killed 3 people in this household.
I don't believe this.
Kill it, bury it, and bring me its tail.
Tales from the dark side.
Well, that just about takes care of that, doesn't it?
Come, live the nightmare of your choice. Tales from the Dark Side. The movie.
Tales from the Darkside, the movie, released on May the 4th, 1990, directed by John Harrison, screenplay by Michael McDowell and George Romero, based on 2 short stories, Lot 249 by Arthur Conan Doyle and The Cat from Hell by Stephen King, and let's face it, it's quite on. And starring Deborah Harry, Christian Slater, David Johansen, William Hickey, James Remar, Raydon Shaw. Cinematography by friend of the podcast, Robert Draper, and I think it looks gorgeous here. Here we are at the end of the line, gentlemen. Where did you first see this movie? Was it in the theater, either of you? Chris, you weren't born yet. Never mind.
But he did go see it. He saw it in his mother's womb.
In utero.
In memory.
I think I rented this sucker probably from the video store where I was working. I know I've had this conversation with you so many times, Father Malone, because I always get this one mixed up with Two Evil Eyes.
Yes,
just
you do.
Because of the cat theme. But rewatching this, I'm just like, okay, now I remember which one this is. I'm glad you said that the Arthur Conan Doyle thing, that the Lot 249 was Arthur Conan Doyle. I thought they were going for a Thomas Pynchon reference with the crying of Lot 49, but then I realized that's just not it.
And you think they were doing that?
Yeah.
That's not this movie. It could be, but it's not.
As I was watching this, I was really remembering, especially that first segment. It was funny. I guess it just went along as the movie went along. I was like, oh yeah, I remember this first segment very clearly because I love Steve Buscemi. I love Julianne Moore. Christian Slater's in here as well. And then I remember the David Johansen and William Hickey thing. And then I really didn't remember the James Remar and Raydon Chong thing at all. Yeah. But I'm excited to talk about this one.
How about you, Chris? When did you first see this?
For this? This now for this
right
episode.
Now?
Yeah, right now.
Okay.
I'm watching it.
You had never seen this one before. Okay.
Not even now. I still haven't seen it. No, I watched it for this episode. You know, I've had it on my Plex server for a while, but I've never watched it. And I don't know why when I watched Creepshow when I was in high school, I didn't watch this because, again, this is part and parcel with Creepshow.
Show's so much better, though. It's 1,000 times better than this.
I think they're checking different boxes. I think they're doing different things. Creepshow is comic book inspired, and this is a finishing out of the television show and putting a capper on the television show. So I think the intention is different. I actually think this movie is very good, and I enjoyed it a lot. And there's, shockingly, similarly to Creepshow, I actually think there's very little wrong with this movie. I think maybe there's some issues that are just kind of, again, you have a film version of a TV show, and people that were showing up to see this had to understand that's what this was, because it does feel very disjointed, but it's just 3 stories with some wraparounds. So it's, if you can just get to that point with it and understand that you're watching a novella, short story novella in film form, cool. I really enjoyed it. I could understand why this wouldn't be some people's cup of tea, and I think Creepshow moves through those stories a little faster and gives you more to chew on in that respect than this movie does. But they're doing different things, but I enjoyed this immensely. Father Malone.
You will hear a lot online that this is the unofficial Creepshow 3.
Kind of feels like it.
And that's because at one point, Tom Savini offhandedly said, this is basically Creepshow 3. And of course, the entire crew is all the Laurel Entertainment folk who were responsible for Creepshow. John Harrison, the director of this, composed the score for Creepshow and was the assistant director on that film. George Romero is one of the writers on this. In fact, the segment that he wrote, the Cat from Hell sequence, was written for Creepshow 2. And they figured they couldn't do it. So that was just sitting around, and then he rewrote it for this. Because at the time that this movie is getting made, Romero wants nothing to do with Laurel Entertainment anymore. This is a situation where Richard Rubenstein had already negotiated like a several picture deal, and one of them was going to be Tales from the Darkside. So this is Romero's, basically his last involvement with anything to do with Laurel Entertainment. Now, as I said, this came out in May of 1990. I was working at the Lowe's in Somerville, Massachusetts. I was an usher there. And this movie came out. This is the movie theater I met my wife, my late wife, and I saw this movie 1,000 times.
Yeah, I saw Creepshow probably about that much, just because it was on HBO and like VHS and those things. That's funny because I was working in a movie theater in 1990 as well, but this one passed me by. I didn't even know that this was a movie until probably 3-4 years later. And then the whole thing with Creepshow 3, I think I was on one of Josh Hadley's shows, and we watched, because he's fucking crazier than I am when it comes to, oh yeah, we're going to talk about this, so you should watch these 5, 10, 15 movies. Like, he keeps asking me to do a witch board thing, and I'm just like, there's no fucking way I'm ever going to be on a witch board.
So many witch board movies, man.
No, I don't want to spend the rest of my life watching witch board movies. So I also watched this again back probably 8 years ago, and even still then I was just like, yeah, like I said, it's not that memorable to me. But rewatching it for this, I was like, this is decent. And I don't know if it was just because I was watching like shitty VHS copy the first time, maybe subpar DVD the second time. It looks great. Like, this latest transfer looks fantastic, and especially the look of the second segment. But we'll get there when it comes to this. I have problems with anthology movies, especially when it comes to how are they tying these things together. And this one was rough because I love Debbie Harry, but I don't think she's that great of an actress. And the performance she's giving in this, I wasn't that thrilled with her performance. So it was a little tough, a little awkward every single time she was on screen. And then listening to the commentary and hearing that the segments were in a different order, I'm guessing that's why we don't see the priest, because they very specifically call out in the credits that it's the little boy, it's her, and it's the priest. I'm like, did I blink? But I think he must have been in some of the stuff that they had to cut out when they rearranged the segments.
Yeah, I believe that's the case. They did the same thing with Creepshow. Initially, the crate was the literal centerpiece of Creepshow. You would have Jordy Verrill then right into the crate and then follow it up with something to tide you over. And they realized dramatically, you just got to shift that shit around. And I believe in this one, The Cat from Hell was the original ending. They thought they were going to pull off another Ups and Pratt, they're creeping up on you from Creepshow here with the giant gross out, leave you on the floor type of ending. And then they, I assume, wisely saw what they had and went, oh, Jesus, put this in the middle.
Yeah, because it's such a weak ending with the gargoyle story, but I don't want to jump ahead.
All right, let's get to it. Let's knock this wraparound straight. No, wait, Chris.
I had something that I wanted to mention before we get too far in about the timing of when the show Tales from the Darkside ended was 88. When this movie came out was 90. Something came out in between that the greatly affected, I think, even the way that this looks and the tone of this. Tales from the Crypt started in 1989. That is the first year of that show. And this movie, I think, benefits from Tales from the Crypt being out and keeping that interest in horror and especially anthology horror out there, because this movie, like you mentioned, Mike, it looks great. I think it looks really good because it's also copying from the Tales from the Crypt's look at the time. Like it is leaning into the EC comic a little bit of it, which I think works because, again, if that's the other thing that's on that's really successful at the time, why not lean into it a little bit? And this comes out when the second season of the show of Tales from the Crypt is on. And
I'm going to respectfully disagree with you on both those counts. I don't think this has any EC influence, and I definitely don't think this has any Tales from the Crypt influence. I just don't see it at all. And I think John Harrison is an accomplished and sort of for who came out of Laurel Entertainment, he's the most muscular of the directors. He's the one with an actual eye. I think you see that in a lot of the transitions and everything we're going to see in The Cat from Hell. I think he was the most innovative filmmaker on Tales from the Darkside. I think he came in with a plan, and his plan was to make this as stylish as he could without making it Creepshow. Because let's face it, he's standing in George Romero's fucking shadow. Romero's producing this movie and is on set a lot of the time. And as far as Tales from the Crypt, you got to know that these guys probably hated that fucking thing because there is no show without Creepshow. Like they basically already did that. And now here they are with their $1 million budgets and everything. It's like Amazing Stories 2 for these guys. So I don't think John Harrison is looking to ape them at all.
I don't think I would maybe walk back me saying, I wouldn't say I would say aping. I'd say it's benefiting. Let me rephrase it. It's benefiting from being on. Tales from the Crypt is helping this out by just keeping the idea of horror anthology as a mainstream idea going. You would agree with that?
Oh, yeah,
though,
totally.
Right?
Yeah.
Tales from the Crypt is like the biggest fucking thing there for the first 5 years that it's on. Like
Tales from the Crypt still is a big thing. Everyone still remembers it very fondly. But all I'm saying is I don't think there's any influence going on or visually here, specifically visually.
Well, like you said about the people who are in the horror world not agreeing with Tales from the Crypt. Tales from the Crypt was not, that was one of our big things with Chronicles from the Crypt was that was a show not made by horror people. And that is the thing that I appreciate about everything that we've done with Midnight Viewing is the people involved are horror people or sci-fi people, and they're invested in that genre already. And yeah, to your point, like that's a very apropos point that they would not be super thrilled. And with those budgets, squandering them.
Got to be a kick in the fucking teeth, I got to tell you.
Yeah.
But they do have George Romero with this, so it's not like they're just out in the cold. You have the king of horror here.
Oh, I think they're doing just fine.
Oh yeah.
I think in a lot of ways, if a Tales from the Crypt movie could wish in a lot of ways it was as good as Tales from the Darkside, the Tales from the Darkside movie, like genuinely.
Oh, it is so nice that they have so many, not just the talent behind the camera, but in front of the camera as well. The episode with Debbie Harry wasn't that long ago. Do I remember right that a very young Christian Slater was in like one of the first season episodes?
A Case of the Stubborns, where his grandpa would not believe he was dead.
Oh, the one with, the guy from those old time comedies. Yeah, that was fantastic.
Written by Michael McDowell, who wrote his segment here.
There's a lot of crossover with this movie and a lot of the things we've watched. Steve Buscemi's in Tales from the Crypt. James Remar was in Tales from the Crypt. There's a lot of like we've already said with Christian Slater, a lot of crossover.
With the Debbie Harry wraparound, what I was hoping for, and I know, again, thanks to the way that they had to rejigger this. But this whole idea of this kid, this kind of Scheherazade wraparound where he's telling her these stories in order to keep himself alive, keep her from cutting him open and eviscerating him, cooking him in the oven and everything. I was really hoping, because they prominently show that clock, and I really had hoped that every time a segment was over, that clock would be moving and it would be the length of time until she had to put him in the oven. I thought that would have been a really nice thing. Unfortunately, they just couldn't pull that one off.
They did say an hour and a half at the beginning of the movie.
True.
Yeah, to your point, I was like, they're going to try to do that. You keep saying that kid, Brotherly Love's own Matthew Lawrence, the most gifted of the Lawrence brothers, the true child actor amongst them.
Okay.
Not turning in his best performance though. He's just here. I was surprised it was him, because when they have that shot of her and then they reveal it's him, I was like, oh my God, like it's a little distracting for someone my age, because he's so
precocious.
Yeah, it's a little much. Debbie Harry is not. Yeah, she's not as good as she is in Videodrome. That's for sure. I think that might be a one-off.
In the wraparound segment, look, if you haven't seen it, we're spoiling the fuck out of everything. So what they do here is they try and subvert expectations. We get like the perfect suburban housewife, and she's waving to the priest and the neighbors and the mailman, and she comes home and she has a fucking dungeon with a kid in it who she's going to be cooking and eating. And the kid is trying to forestall her by reading her stories from the book of Tales from the Darkside, which, by the way, makes Tales from the Darkside fake.
Right. The whole thing we've been watching up until this point.
It reduces the series to that book. So
that was my interpretation as well.
So we're watching Tales from the Darkside, but they're reading Tales from the Darkside, but that no longer I don't know. Anyway, but what we have is a somnambulant performance by Debbie Harry and a fucking Disney kid performance from the Lawrence kid, and it's just a mess.
It is a mess. And again, you're talking about subverting expectations when you've got the cage and all the cookies, and I was expecting that little creature from, was that season 2 or 1, the little thing that was living in the closet. I was hoping Lizzie would make a reappearance. I was like, yeah, Lizzie. And then no, here comes this stupid kid.
You know what? You're right. They should have had some appearances from characters from the show. That would have made this a little bit better, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But yeah, I'm surprised that they didn't recycle segments from the show, just because they might have thought the audience for the movie's different than the audience from the show. I'm glad they didn't do that.
You mean like they did with the third Tales from the Crypt movie that wasn't a Tales from the Crypt movie, but they just put Tales from the Crypt wraparounds on it? Yeah, like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what they did with Ritual, which I believe had James Remar in it, of all people. Yeah, I was going to say about the wraparound, I guess the question I have is, given how many of these that we've seen with wraparounds, would it have been better to just have a host wrapping around the movie? Or would it be better to try and do this and it not workness? Because for the most part, anytime we've seen, the three of us anyways, we've seen just someone going, hello and welcome to the show, or not even acknowledging that this is a show, but presenting the information or the story. Would that have been better? Or is this trying to contextualize it within the narrative? Is that a better idea? Because this is the first time we've really seen this, though there are other things that do it. Just the first time we've seen it together.
I think to the Tales from the Crypt angle, having a host would have been too much. And I think Romero and Harrison talk about great audio commentary, especially if you like to hear George Romero laugh. He's got such a great laugh, and he laughs a lot. It seems like he just came in and wrote a segment and didn't necessarily have to.
There was no pain for him here.
Not a lot of pain for George for this one. Yeah, I think he was talking about the whole idea of the true nature of having a host and all that stuff. So I'm glad that they did the wraparound, and I'm also glad that they respect the story that's inside of these stories. The whole idea of her being like, oh, I almost wish that she had made more commentary about the characters, because she just says things like, oh, that was a horrible story, or, oh, that was a good one. I was hoping she might say, I wonder if that mummy ever came back around, or whatever it was.
Yeah, it's too much and not enough. Here's how I would have solved the wraparound segment problem. I would have called Paul Sparrer and said,
Yeah.
I need you to say a lot of more spooky shit and freak the
There you
fuck
go.
out of people in between segments. If I would have opened this movie exactly like the television series and then gone right in and then had Paul Sperr continue to talk to us and then bring us into the first segment, it would have freaked everyone the fuck out.
You're right, because they could have updated the graphics from the opening of the show, because those graphics, after a while, you're just like, man, Video Toaster, yeah, it was good in 86, but maybe not now. Yeah, I totally agree. I was a little like, oh, that's nice that they did the do with the music, but I really love that score, and I especially love him and that voiceover. Like for the last couple episodes that we watched with our last episode, I was just like, I'm not doing skip credits, man. I want to hear these intros and outros.
Donald Rubinstein, who composed the score for the original Tales from the Darkside series, he does the overall score for the entire episode. And what's funny is I remember seeing the movie in the theater for the first time, and the lights coming up halfway at the end when the credits are rolling, and somebody in front of me saying, "Where's the fucking music?"
That's what I was trying to get us to, is like, this movie suffers from not being what I expected from Tales from the Darkside by not having at least even acknowledging what we've acknowledged so many times with Father Malone. You've mentioned at the end of every episode this season, the try to enjoy the daylight. That is a memorable part of the show that is memorable to me as the Crypt Keeper is from Tales from the Crypt, as Rod Serling is for Night Gallery. And not having it here does hurt, I think, because it makes it feel just like 1% less than it could have been. And this is, if you're going to call this Tales from the Darkside, have it at some point. Even have it at the end. Even have the kids say, doesn't everyone love a happy ending, and try to enjoy the daylight? Like, just something. I don't know. Like,
I would have had Paul Sperr's fucking speech from the original series come in over the Paramount logo in the opening. Like, all bets are off now.
Yeah, something. And then maybe have it like cut out as someone listening to it diegetically on the radio or something, in like a car. Even just acknowledge what we all are here for, and then maybe change the formula low. That's all I was. It was a weird missed opportunity, but I think overall, like, it does a very good job at playing right into Tales from the Darkside.
And here we go, Tales from the Darkside. Let's talk about our first story, Lot 249, based on a short story by Arthur Conan Doyle. This one was, as I said, scripted by Michael McDowell, starring Christian Slater, Julianne Moore. Who else was in it? Is that it?
Steve Buscemi.
Oh, no, Christian Slater, Steve Buscemi. Oh, Steve Buscemi is the fucking star of the episode. My God.
And then the other guy, Robert
Sedgwick.
Yeah, that dude.
Who could have been pretty much anybody. And when I saw his little picture on like the Plex server, I was just like, is that, oh God, why am I blanking on the guy? The guy who owns everything except shoes. Death from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Oh, William Sadler?
Is that William Sadler? Yeah, when I saw the little...
that's Kyra Sedgwick's brother.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Kevin Bacon's brother-in-law.
All right.
No shit. Yeah, really. Sedgwick, in this case, the Sedgwick last name is, in fact, Kyra Sedgwick's brother.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
Hey, you guys having Thanksgiving at your house? Yeah, we're inviting my sister and her husband. Yeah, you mean Kyra Sedgwick and Kevin Bacon? Oh, yeah.
I have two favorite pieces of mummy entertainment. One is from Amazing Stories. The other one is this, Lot 249. I love a horror mummy story, and I love the way this is shot. I think this is gorgeously shot, as a matter of fact. Now, when we talked about the series and when we talked to Robert Draper, he was telling me about how their mandate was film noir, which was perfect for him because he loves a harsh light. And that's what this entire movie is. He changes the palette and the sort of style from segment to segment, but it is all the Darkside ethos going on here. And I think this one looks gorgeous. By the way, Micah, you listen to the commentary. These are sets. I can't fucking believe that these are sets.
It looks so good.
I thought this whole movie was shot on location. And to hear that today blew my fucking mind because these are lit beautifully.
Absolutely. And yeah, everything in this first segment has this kind of honey brown to it. It just looks so good. And they do so many smart things. There's so many times where you've got like an out of focus character in the background and an in focus character in the foreground. I remember when Buscemi's like reading the scroll and it's got that light on his glasses, and he's got such a great face. And yeah, I think we're all kind of used to his face, but the very first time I ever saw him, I was just like, my God, this guy's got a beautiful face, and those teeth are so prominent. He just looks like such a amazing Poindexter in this.
Yeah, I knew Christian Slater because I'd already seen Heathers at this point, but I didn't know Buscemi. I didn't know Julianne Moore. Actually, no, I had seen Buscemi he was in a Jim Jarmusch movie by now, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he had been in a few New York type movies too, with like Jarmusch, but I want to say Parting Glances or something.
Oh, you know what I had seen him in too? He's in Vibes, the movie with Jeff Goldblum and Cyndi Lauper.
Cyndi Lauper
he's Cyndi Lauper's philandering boyfriend at the beginning.
And is that the one also with Peter Falk in it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Does anyone know the Spanish for milk and cookies? I know milk. It's leche.
Buscemi had been in a bumper that was directed by Robert Longo as an MTV bumper where he just spits out all these lyrics to songs that were out around the time. He's just like, baby, does this whole thing as he's like wandering around this supermodel type person. Who do you love? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. He just does this whole monologue. And then at the end, she just goes, beat it. And then there's this amazing fisheye shot of his face, that wonderful face of his. And I used to I could never hear one of those words without going into that whole spiel that he would do.
You would think from this cast list and the filmmakers behind it that this was like an indie darling about to come out in 1991 and take over the Spirit Awards.
Yeah. Soon to be Trees Lounges, Steve Buscemi, and Julianne Moore of many Coen Brothers films. Yeah. And Robert Altman. Yeah.
Trees Lounges is the reason we're talking about fucking The Sopranos. That's where a lot of that casting comes from, is from that. Yeah. Yeah. Steve Buscemi in this is so good. I know I love him and Slater back and forth. They have great chemistry.
I loathe the Zuni aesthetics.
Yeah. Yes. It's so good. So good.
Yeah. He has a great look to him. And I love that, yes, this is an Arthur Conan Doyle story. No, the story is not set in the time of Arthur Conan Doyle, but the lighting palette that they use pays homage to that. And totally. I appreciate it. I really appreciate that they're not going to do a period piece, but they'll use period light. That's availing yourself of doing that, I think, is very impressive. And Christian Slater cutting up a mummy with electric kitchen knife is proper disgusting.
Oh, and I love his little, just in case those fuse blow out again, batteries. And I'm like, you have a battery run electric carving knife? Where can I get one of those?
He went out and bought it specifically for this evening. He is quite unhinged here at the end. It almost makes me think like he was going to do a reveal because he's so excited to cut up that mummy. You think what has this character been up to this whole time? Is he like a serial killer?
He's just been pushed to the edge by Steve Buscemi's character, is what we're supposed to believe.
A mummy did just murder his sister.
It's interesting, though, when you think about the politics of this episode, and I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but Steve Buscemi is this Poindexter type character. Everybody just has it out for him, except Christian Slater. It seems like he and Christian Slater are friends, but this whole thing of Slater's best bud, Keira Sedgwick's brother, and then his piece of shit sister, Julianne Moore, who's going out with Mr. Sedgwick. They're awful people. They are totally awful people. They're planting shit in Buscemi's room, trying to get him kicked out of college. And it really feels just because they don't like him. It feels like there's nothing. And I know the feeling's mutual. He's probably had to work very hard his entire life. Meanwhile, these two yuppie assholes are just kind of scooting through the line of Slater where he's just like, the hardest thing you've ever done was fill out that application. And the guy,
and he didn't even do that.
Exactly. That was the sister. And he's just all about that stipend money and all that. And I know that's also part of it, is that Buscemi didn't get the stipend. So I can see him getting revenge on these a-holes, but Slater's kind of the innocent victim for me. Yeah, once he chops up the mummy and Buscemi makes a clean getaway, I was like, okay, that's the end of the story. But no, they had to tack on that little bit, which I'm not going to say it's problematic at all, because I think it's a great Tales from the Darkside type ending. But it just is, you really didn't have to do that. You didn't have to bring back the couple from what's the one with Ted Danson and Creepshow. You didn't have to bring them back and have them attack Leslie Nielsen, because he's not Leslie Nielsen. It's not like Christian Slater was that bad of a guy.
I think
Something to tide you over. There we go.
I think it's almost, the Christian Slater character is almost unnecessary. If it had just been Buscemi and those other two, it would have been a revenge story. And with Christian Slater, it makes it less of a revenge story and more just of a guy caught in between. And then at the end, Steve Buscemi's like, nah, fuck you anyways. I thought like Steve Buscemi at the end is, I like the central casting of the taxi cab driver who is straight out of Return of the Living Dead.
Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead. He's in Day of the Dead.
Yeah,
we lost 2 men. Yeah,
with his piercings that connect to from his ear to his nose. But it is a strange, like, Steve Buscemi getting one over on Christian Slater. He didn't really. It's just he was pissed off at him. But it's less of a revenge story and more kind of unclear what the purpose is at the end. But I still kind of liked it.
Everyone is horrible. That's the fucking message here, everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Welcome to Tales from the Dark Side.
That's why I think it's a great Tales from the Dark Side ending. Yeah.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you go. Bad idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, he didn't know what's his line about? He didn't know this type of scroll from the real thing.
Post-Alexandrian pictogram
yes,
porn.
Pictogram porn. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. That was nice.
I love a good mummy sticking.
The coat hanger.
The hook up the nose.
Oof.
I love a good mummy brain removal. We don't get those enough.
No.
Such a good
and then he
way to
stuffs a bunch of fucking flowers into a wound he has just inflicted on somebody. Come on now.
Yeah.
I love this segment.
I do what they say in the commentary about how she wasn't screaming because she was such a cold-hearted bitch that she respected the mummy and didn't really want to give him like the satisfaction of a scream. I was like, nice. Okay.
Julianne Moore, who evidently like still cops to loving this film and appreciates like the fucking the opportunity that it gave her.
Yeah.
What's funny is she showed up in Benny and June very quickly after this, where her character, like her claim to fame was that she was in this low budget horror movie. And I was like, wow, that's really weirdly specific and coincidental.
Yeah. Yeah. I almost didn't recognize her. And God, she must have gone from this to being bottomless and shortcuts within just a few years. Because wasn't that like 93, 94?
Yeah, it was 93.
Yeah. I love the camera work in this episode. And I know we'll definitely talk about that more with the next segment, but especially when you've got, the Mr. Sedgwick going around and then the camera moves and the mummy's in the foreground and you see the mummy stretch out that hanger and then the camera still keeps moving and you get a lot of back and forth. They're almost like split screen with the stairwell coming up and the stairwell continuing up. I love the way that they're doing that. It looks so good. And there's a nice wipe in here as well, where you're just like, oh yeah, they're really going for this back and forth of the camera. There's the cops in the one room and they move over and there she is in the kitchen, Julianne Moore, with the big bloody handprint on the fridge. I'm like, oh, this is so good. Just again, I'm going to keep sounding like a broken record. It looks like $1 million.
Yeah, it's again. I want to say it's my favorite segment, but I think actually the last one, which you don't like, Mike, is mine. But not to bury the lead anyway.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't understand why you don't like the last one already, Mike. Yeah, you've already buried the lead a little bit. What? You weren't subjected to bad Tales from the Crypt segments with James Remar like we were. That's why, Father Malone. He doesn't know what a redheaded James Remar with Whoopi Goldberg really looks like.
That's right.
It's particularly.
Speaking of particularly bad,
show.
Speaking of the worst segments of this show, time. It's time for The Cat from Hell. Now, this is based on a short story by Stephen King, and this one was adapted by George A. Romero. Ooh, okay. Now this is
so written by Stephen King, and it says based on Cat's Eye, but it's not. It's like it's a different story than Cat's Eye.
Yeah, it's a completely different story. It's the story we get. It was first published in 1978. You could only get it in a back issues of Cavalier magazine, which is a men's magazine, which luckily I was friends with people in the convention circuit. So they they were like, we know you want the fucking Stephen King story. You're not here for the porn. So they were able to sell it to me. They finally serialized it, I think, in 2006, maybe. He finally put it into print. But yeah, so based on that short story. And it's a fucking hitman hired to kill a cat by a pharmaceutical guy who was testing cats. And it's he lives with the Grey Gardens ladies, and it's William Hickey and Buster Poindexter.
And Ace Ventura's landlord.
Oh, Mark Margolis.
Mark Margolis,
He's great. Is he still with us? I interviewed him a few years ago, and he was great.
I believe he may have passed. Actually,
he passed. Yeah, sorry. And then having Alice Drummond as one of those ladies, I'm just like, oh yeah, ask her about her period.
Exactly, Alice Drummond from the opening of Ghostbusters.
Yeah, just in case you guys thought I was being weird about asking about her period.
So. Also from Ace Ventura as well.
Yes.
Weirdly.
Talking about coming full circle, I think when I was asked to guest on your guys' Tales from the Crypt podcast, it was a William Hickey episode.
That's right.
I was going to say William Hickey, also from Tales from the Crypt, in the Body Switch episode, directed by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. So William Hickey has looked old his entire life that I can tell. Like I haven't gone all the way back to the very beginning, but I did go back at least to Wise Blood in 79. No, actually I take it back. He was in Mikey and Nicky, the movie that I refused to talk about on
we've had several of those on our Columbo show.
Yeah, but I haven't gone all the way back to the earliest part of his career when he was on the Philco Television Playhouse in 1952, but he looked fucking old forever, and he just knew how to do it so well. This is 5 years north of his performance in Prizzi's Honor, where he stole that whole fucking movie. He was so good in that.
This is a year after Christmas Vacation, which is the thing that like most people I think of a certain generation know him from. And he's always looked old. He's like Abe Vigoda. You've always been old. You've always just looked like an old man.
And he plays it so well.
He's got the voice for it.
Oh, I love his voice. I love his look in this, just this kind of like old-timey suit that he's wearing. And again, not to spoil this one too early, but the camera work and especially the flashbacks in here, I love those, especially the transition to the flashbacks where it is no cuts, just lighting changes, theatrics, and you are off to the races.
Yeah, and that's partially a limitation from budget and partially just because it's super fucking cool, and we need to see that sometimes, because having these characters in the flashback when you don't realize it, just by tricks of lighting and using scrims or there's a driving sequence here where there's that car never left the fucking studio and it looked great.
Oh, yeah.
And just even something as simple as a transition of a close-up of Mark Margolis's face and then an explosion of a fireplace, and we pull back out of that and go, okay, I got it. That guy burned up and now here we are again. Cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, it looks so good. I love when they do the original move and it's just that like blue light in the background, and when they came out of it, I was like, with him rolling his wheelchair from the flashback into the present, that was impressive. I actually said that out loud while we were watching it. I was just like, that looked really good. David Johansen is such an interesting actor as well. I think I pretty much knew him first as Buster Poindexter, and then when he would show up in things like Car 54, Where Are You? I'm just saying the hits now. Car 54, Where Are You? Or The Cab Driver and Scrooge. Yeah, for me, one of my favorite movies of all time, Free Jack. He's in there. He's fantastic in that. But I had no idea about the New York Dolls for the longest fucking time. And then when I saw them, I was like, is that fucking Buster Poindexter in this?
LUV.
It's so good. Oh, and he looks so close to Buster in this role, but he doesn't have that big hair. He doesn't have the big hair and the big smile, the cheesy grin that he would do as Buster.
Yeah, he had clearly gotten a haircut close to production, because otherwise you could pump that up just a little bit and we could get hot.
You know what came out the year after Free Jack was Mr. Nanny, which is the first thing I saw him in. Speaking of Hulk Hogan and Tales from the Darkside,
nice.
It is a film starring Hulk Hogan as the titular Mr. Nanny. David Johansen just has an interesting look to it. He's got a great face.
Oh, yeah. And that voice.
And the
when
voice.
he would do the voice. Yeah.
Buster Poindexter versus William Hickey. Run.
Oh, I know. I love it.
Like being a ping pong ball in between the two of them, just back and forth.
And I said to you, Father Malone, off air, I was just like, I remember this being terrible. But rewatching it for the show, for this episode, I was like, it isn't as bad as I thought. Like, not to, again, jump ahead, but I thought that David Johansen solved the problem by eating the cat. So
you thought that he intentionally had the cat go in his mouth.
I was thinking this is Stephen King. I was thinking a little bit of Lawnmower Man when he like strips off all of his clothes and goes and starts to eat everything. And at one point, I think he eats a gopher whole, and that's WHOLE. He doesn't eat the whole because that would be impossible because there's nothing there. It's not. But I really thought that at one point, I pictured him in my head, almost like the cover of Ralph Bakshi's The Rock and Roll movie, where you got the guy with the long arm. I pictured Buster Poindexter with the tall hair and a cat just like mowing down this cat, just pushing it into his mouth, almost with like cartoon sound effects.
That would be great in this segment because I agree with you. Like I had joked back to you that I agree this is a terrible segment. And then in the rewatch I am knocked out by the visuals. I was even back then. But look, when Alice Drummond has a fucking cat stuck on her face, and it's just this really terrible thing. And then, I don't know, God bless KNB Obviously, they spent all of their time on the gargoyle because the effects here at the end are so laughable. I don't know.
What? No.
Laughable, man.
I mean, I was laughing, but I'm assuming it was because
but they have no choice at that point when they're given those effects.
You got to lean into it.
Yeah.
David Johansen with a cat sticking out of his mouth is just the fact that I get to say that out loud is amazing. And then you have the bugged out eyes and it's fucking wild. And it's not something you see every day. There's a lot of stuff in horror movies where it's like Michael Myers just stabbing a bunch of people, sticking a knife through their neck. Okay. But we got David Johansen with a cat jumping down his throat and then popping out of him. Don't get to see that every day. I'll take it.
I would like to point out the music for this segment was done by Chaz Jankel, who not only is Annabelle Jankel's brother from Rocky Morton and Annabelle Jankel, the creators of Max Headroom, but if you remember the film,
and directors of Super
Mario Brothers.
Yes.
Absolutely. And DOA. Can't take DOA away from them. But he also composed the song Number One from Real Genius. Number one is the heart. That song.
Yeah. Where I was just like, what the fuck is this?
Anything else about the cat from hell? I don't know.
Yeah. It's always good seeing Mark Margolis show up in things. And yeah, had a lot of fun this time. And yeah, the movie poster I was thinking of was Hey Good Lookin'. So if people go look up the poster for 1982's Hey Good Lookin' and replace the words with a cat, that's what I was thinking. So
that's the best way to experience Mike's fantasy of what this movie should have been.
Just right down the gullet.
I'm just going to point out, having been the one out of the three of us who had never seen this before, not knowing that, or having the expectation of this might being not good, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a perfect amount of over the top, and yeah, the cat at the end. And the idea of David Johansen strangling a cat with a garrote is pretty great. So we never get to see it, but he is thinking about it there for a second, and I'm like, all right. And Predator vision for the cat, pretty great also.
Especially when it would go.
Yep. Yeah. Or I guess Predator vision, or I guess Deadite vision, however you want to interpret it, given your point of reference.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I got nothing.
I was going to say, no, I think we're good. I think we should move on to the last segment.
Oh, you say it so dismissively. We're talking about Lover's Vow, technically based on the short story about the Yuki-onna that appeared in Kwaidan. This one is written by Michael McDowell. It is about an artist who meets a gargoyle who kills a friend of his and says, "Hey, don't tell anyone, or I'll kill you too." And then he keeps it to himself for a decade.
For 10 years, you kept your promise.
Can I just say that
when you see Ricky Coogan in real life?
I told you at the end of the movie, somebody in the theater went, "Where was the fucking music?" In this segment, they go from this hard cut from them meeting and falling in love to 10 years later, and somebody else in the audience, I heard them go, "10 years? That's too much of a leap for us. Sorry."
Yeah. Yeah, that's the bridge too far. Of all the things. It's not the gremlins or anything. Or gargoyles.
Gremlins.
I like my gargoyles to look like the 1972 TV movie where they look so much better than a puppet with a really awkward mouth. And the thing that I dislike about this isn't the gargoyles. I like most of the actors in here. I like Robert Klein a lot. That's pretty good. Radon Chong always leaves a lot to be desired, except for, of course, Commando, where she's just impeccable in there. But it feels like it goes on for long because it's just, okay, we've got the beginning, we've got the death, we've got the meeting, then we go into like their 1 year anniversary or something, and then the 10 years later, and then it's, okay, finally it pays off. It just feels like it takes a long time to get to the twist.
Also, is James Remar, every time he's in one of these horror anthology things, just the most oblivious motherfucker on the planet? You met Radon Chong the same night you ran into this giant gargoyle, and you weren't like, is it a stretch to be like, she's the gargoyle? Is it a stretch for him to think that her meeting him and the gargoyle in the same evening is not? I guess he assumes that it's a positive miracle, a positive synchronicity, and not a negative one. I don't know. It's just, it seems weird to me that he didn't just put 2 and 2 together. She's the gargoyle. Duh.
I think you might think that for a little while, but once you settle down and start having children, maybe it goes out of your mind that maybe she's just a human, and you luckily ran into her on what potentially was the worst night of your life.
That's fair. I guess when you're like, oh my God, the baby's crowning. Yeah, that's a human vagina. Definitely not a gargoyle vagina. You're right.
I don't know if it were to look like a gargoyle at any time. I think it might be that moment.
in that moment, she becomes a gargoyle once again.
In that moment. Yeah. And I guess that's why this segment is so long, is to make us forget and to make us really have that twist be something spectacular at the end. But yeah,
who else could it be? What else could it be? Like it never gives us it. It doesn't do the thing of even like that Columbo does, where it doesn't even give us any other option of something else it could be. It's so obviously her. That's why I'm saying, like, is James Remar not the, I guess, because we don't see that he does have a life outside of the narrative of the story with this woman, we assume he could have thought it was anybody else. But because we never see any of that, it's her. Because we're only seeing this aspect of the story. And we as the audience know from the moment we see her that she's the gargoyle. They're belaboring the fucking point with the audience is more the problem, not so much the narrative.
The segment needed to be either longer or shorter.
Yeah. I talked about how much I love Steve Buscemi's face, and another guy whose face I love, that he's had a career, but he's never seemed to take off as much as Buscemi, is Philip Lankowski, who's in this third segment, and you see him at the bar at the beginning, and then he also comes back during the art show that Remar's character is having. Another just fantastic face. His teeth and just that long, lanky thing that he's got going on, and he's still working today and looks very respectable, but at the same time, he looks a little bit like, oh, sorry, I'm going to make a reference to something I shouldn't. He looks like the guy, is it Bricktop from Snatch? He looks a little Bricktop-esque.
You know who he reminded me of? The leader of the orphans from the Warriors.
Oh, I can totally see that. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and he was just in, I guess it came out this year, The Ugly Stepsister. And I keep hearing about a show called Death by Lightning, and apparently he's in that too.
Wow. My God.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Warriors, James Remar.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Yeah, my lord, James Remar. Talk about a guy who's still working now. James Remar, who's ostensibly one of the leads of the It TV show. So there you go. I love James Remar as a fan of Dexter. Like, he obviously plays a huge part in that show. He was in Tales from the Crypt at least one time, but I think it was more than one. Again, I guess he was in the movie, that third movie. But I like him here. Him and Radon Chong are good together, but Again, it's just this. I actually think, Father Malone, you're right. If they had done more or less, but they're in this weird middle ground where they don't do either. But I still like it, though. That's the problem. Because I would have liked it more, maybe, is where I'm left with.
I just love this short story, honestly. And look, if you want to see the proper version of this, do see the film Qui-Gon, which is a series of ghost stories from Japan from the 1960s, where this is an old Japanese folktale. And in that one, it's a farmer and he goes out and he gets caught in a storm, and this Yuki-onna, which is a snow woman, appears to him and basically kills his friend. It's the same story. And then it's what happens is it's not like the same night he meets that girl. He survives and goes back to his village and then eventually meets this girl who comes and then lives his life. But it's what you're saying, Chris, because of the time compression here, they just let's have him meet at that moment. But it's such a tip off to the audience. Like gargoyle here, turn around the corner, pretty girl. Oh yeah, what else is it?
I'm surprised we didn't get like a cat people transformation of a shadow of the gargoyle transforming into Radon Chong and then walking around the corner.
They could have, by the way, they could have circumvented all of this had they just had her meet him in the bar as a female human, and then she leaves, and then the gargoyle, and then her again. And then it's, okay, could be different people, but
right.
Speaking of the gargoyle, how do y'all feel about the gargoyle effect? Because I mentioned the Ricky Coogan of it all. It does look a little, the bug eyes and the lips moving remind me of maybe not Ricky Coogan from Freaked so much, but the little kid when he becomes like the big freakicized version of him. He's got those like the weird, like very expressive.
Love you, Rick.
Yeah, it does feel a little freaked. And I'm like, it makes it still is horrifying and weird and bizarre to look at, but it does make it a little, I'm snickering a little bit because it is a little comical.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, it didn't jump off of a fucking building. This gargoyle, this is their own design for it. I actually saw this thing up close. I went to a Fangoria Weekend of Horrors convention in Burbank, and the K&B guys were there, and they had all the props from this film on display. So I got to see the head really close up, and it's gorgeous piece of work. It needs to talk. And what instead we're getting is that sort of puppeteering, just like up and down vocal thing instead of it speaking and vocalizing. Like somebody call the Henson people if you want to do that.
That thing that you do with the where you put some like peanut butter on the horse's tongue. And
it's a little like that.
Mr. Ed, I love you. Please, cross your heart. Like, oh God, like why are you over enunciating every word? British
you
people
promised me you'd never tell.
Yeah, it's like when British people have an American accent, they say their R's really hard. Just stop. We know you're a puppet. Come on, you're not fooling.
Are you talking about Benedict Cumberbatch in the Doctor Strange movies?
Or Ewan McGregor in that episode of Tales from the Crypt where he says his R's really hard, like
really
this.
Hard. Yes.
Hello there. I'm like, okay.
They all learned their American from Dallas in the 1980s. I think
That's right. Radon Chong, though, like I think to your point, Mike, I have only ever seen her in Commando. I have not.
You saw her in Soul Man, right? That's one of your favorite
classic
films.
No, it is not one of my favorite films, and I've never even seen it. I've seen the trailer for it and decided maybe C. Thomas Howell dressing up as a black man wasn't something I needed to go out of my way to watch, unless someone put a gun to my head and said, "Let's do this."
It wasn't problematic back then. No one said anything back then.
They said it wasn't a good movie. That's what that.
Yeah, and then I think she was also in Quest for Fire as well.
Right. That's where I first saw her. Lifelong fan after Quest of Fire.
Yeah. She bears it all right there. Yeah, not nearly as good as Clan of the Cave Bear. When we're talking about men movies of the 1980s, a very specific subgenre, which also includes a film by Ringo Starr.
Caveman with Shelley Long.
That's right, baby.
I was about to say, Mike, what a great name for a new show. Caveman movies of the 1980s.
That's like the accidental pimp movement of 1983, where we had Night Shift and Risky Business and Dr. Detroit.
Oh, it was like all those age swap movies in 1988 or body swap movies?
Yeah, I was about to say, speaking of C. Thomas Howell.
Oh, yeah.
And Radon Chong, to bring it all the way back to her, she was married to C. Thomas Howell for a year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Love bloomed.
Yeah. Soul Man on the set of Soul Man. Love bloomed.
Around the time that this movie came out, it was still a novelty that Radon Chong was Cheech and Chong's, Tommy Chong's daughter.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't see anybody saying anything about Robert Sedgwick, so yeah. Now
Still
it
not talking
matters-
about him.
Yeah, exactly. It matters
he's
for
not even
some,
in
not
the
for
Bacon
others.
Brothers. Yeah.
Yeah, the Bacon Brothers. Good lord.
Behind the
Kev,
scenes, roadie.
Kev, do you think I could sing a song tonight? Kev? Yeah, I'm sorry. We just don't have room for it in the bill.
I like the transformation scene with Radon Chong at the a
Yeah.
lot. It's
Oh, it's
proper
beautiful.
fucking gross. It
I like
reminds
the
me a lot of
vocals.
the
No, honestly, when she says you broke your promise and it
Oh,
has
okay.
like the multiple voices on it, I was like, that's pretty cool.
it's very Fly-esque. It's very Fly.
Oh yeah, because it's bursting out of her.
Yeah.
Her skin is like popping open.
And we have that like mid-transformation like crying thing, which Jeff Goldblum, he doesn't really cry, but we have that like melancholiness where he's like transforming and losing the last humanness of it. That is the thing though. Yeah, the gargoyle had to talk, but when the gargoyle is half lit at the beginning, it's scary, but at the end when it's full lit, it does look really. And then we haven't talked about it, but my God, guys, gargoyle children. Gargoyle children.
When you were talking about freaked, those were the little fuckers I was thinking of.
Those are the freaked fuckers, all right. Oh my God. They're less expressive than the mother is. And that's not good.
No, that was I laughed when he turns around and those kids are there, and I was just like, yep, okay, that checks out. So
Mike, that checks out.
yeah. But yeah.
Gotta send them out laughing, folks. Make them laugh. Make them laugh.
They thought they were ending it powerfully. They moved this segment here.
I liked that. Can I say I think that this is one of the best Tales from the Darkside segments? Genuinely. I had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was really good. It's a little all over the place, but in terms of this kind of story, I enjoyed it a lot. And it had a lot of good, for the most part, practical effects.
I think I liked it then, and I continue to like it now because it's based on that story that I like so much. And it's shot beautifully, and James Remar's great, and Radon Chong's serviceable, and Robert Klein is in there for some reason, but he's really good actually as this sort of disaffected agent. And I can't live on 10% of nothing.
I did like that.
But I'm gonna take care of your kids for you.
So as we're winding down, I want to know your guys' opinion as far as the finale of the wraparound story. Does the kid become some sort of like storyteller, controller of the universe type of thing? Is that what I'm supposed to believe when he's just, and then he reached in his pocket and pulled out these marbles and she tripped and fell because he's like narrating his own story. Speaking of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, it felt very like the end of Bill and Ted when they're just like, oh, and then we can travel in time and we'll do this. And then they basically open up a drawer. Yeah, like they have the whole thing of, the trash can over the dad's head and all that stuff. Because this just feels, okay, he's now in charge of the story. He's the one writing this.
I thought it was a double dodge. I thought the gag was that she kidnapped the wrong kid.
Oh.
That was my assumption. Like, I don't know, to your point, I don't think he became that. I think he always was that, and that's the twist. That's what makes it a Tales from the Darkside thing, is she's the witch, but it turns out what happens when what happens when Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde accidentally kidnaps a vampire. Oh, it's like the movie Abigail, that same thing, where it's like, what happens if X happens with Y, and then it turns out it's something else. That was my interpretation. Maybe I'm off base. I don't know.
I like your interpretation, but I don't think that is it, because I think they would have leaned into it had it been that there would have been a moment where they like zoomed in on the kid. You fucked up a moment. As it is, I think this is more of an Amazing Stories ending than a Tales from the Darkside ending. This is the power of storytelling ending, and way out of place with Darkside.
Yeah, to be fair, they would have also mentioned in the commentary that were the case, and also
how they could have ended it satisfactorily had he started setting the table to eat after she went into the oven. Like, he's going to eat her now.
Yeah.
They're just like, they lean into him being a precocious little shit. To your point, Father Malone, if they had just had him sitting down at the table and then just like looking wryly at the camera, like
setting a timer.
Yeah, and and again, like if you want to acknowledge the audience, don't have them acknowledge them verbally. Just give them a little wink and a nod, little Tom Baker thing of the nose. Don't be that obvious. We don't need to. The show was never that obvious. The show never did that. The show never once acknowledged the audience. It's a little weird that the movie was like that's more Tales from the Crypt. Like the Crypt Keeper does more or less acknowledge the audience. Same with Rod Serling. He acknowledges.
Yeah.
This is not a Tales from the Darkside thing.
This kid breaks the fourth wall and looks right at us.
Directly at. Don't you love a happy ending? Not when you're punching us in the nose on it. Come on.
Yeah.
Now, before this film came out, they thought they had a winner, and they commissioned a screenplay for a sequel to Tales from the Darkside, also written by George Romero and Michael McDowell, but contains stories by Gahan Wilson and Robert Bloch, and then 2 from Stephen King, where they were going to do Rainy Season, which is a horrific fucking story that they were never going to be able to film. But if somebody does that someday, it's going to be great. And they were going to do Pinfall. Pinfall is interesting because it was initially supposed to be in the first Creepshow, and then it was going to be in Creepshow 2, and then it was going to be in Tales from the Darkside, and then it got shuffled off to the Tales from the Darkside sequel. That's never going to get made. That's the one about, I'm sure if you're a Stephen King fan, you know it. It's the undead bowling team segment, where it's based on an old EC Tales from the Crypt comic, actually, which is called Foul Play, about a baseball team that ends up exacting revenge on one of their teammates because the teammate like spikes his spikes with poison and kills a fellow teammate to get ahead in the game, and then they end up eviscerating him and using his entrails as baselines and stuff.
Wow.
So King was obsessed with that. I think it fucked his head up when he read it as a kid, and did the story. It's the same thing, but with a bowling team, basically, where they're bowling his head at the end and everything. So
it's pretty good. It's a good one. That's the problem. It's just like Rainy Season. You know what's funny? Fuck, man, it really speaks to the Stephen King of it all. If they had gone 3 for 3 with Tales from the Darkside, that fucking last one would have just been all Stephen King. It's just every single fucking that. Go look at any bookstore with the horror section. It's K, and then every other thing. It's not as much as it used to be. Thankfully, there's a lot of like horror out there now, but it just speaks to the Stephen King of it all that the next movie was going to be half Stephen King. And then the third one would have been 3/4, if not all. Because, again, he's the name in horror. To speak to the James Remar in an It TV show of it all. My God, currently airing right now.
Back in 2014, a British filmmaker tried to crowdfund his own film version of Pinfall, because it still has never been adapted. And then finally in 2016, they turned it into a comic book, which they gave away with the Creepshow 2 DVD when it came out. So it's the only place you can actually read Pinfall, aside of the many aborted drafts of the screenplay, which is how I read it.
I was just read the source material. Best way to enjoy it.
Yeah, and I'm unfamiliar, I should say, with Rainy Season. So I never made it to Nightmares and Dreamscapes. I was done with King. Ooh, somewhere right around Misery, if not shortly before that. But yeah,
that's interesting.
Dreamscapes is where Sorry Right Number comes.
It was put in there.
Yeah. Again, for most people, I guess people my age who would be reading it as a collected affair.
I'm trying to think where my Stephen King interest flagged.
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up his.
When did his interest flag, you think? When did Mr. King's interest flag?
After his accident, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
No.
For me, it was Tommy Knockers, actually. No, that's not true, because I went through it. I went through Misery. I got up to Nightmares and Dreamscape. So I know I got that far at least, but I think it's when he started doing Rose Matter, and what was the other one? It was Interminable. Gerald's Game.
Yeah.
Being a little wistful, that Mr. King, a little too wistful for one's good.
It was Mr. King, like, reacting to the criticism that he doesn't write good female characters. So I'm going to do all the female characters now. No, they were right. You don't write them.
What's odd, I've never read any of the Dark Tower stuff, and that was coming out while I was reading his other things. So I read all the way up to Thinner, and then I skipped it. And then I went to Misery, and then I was done. And which is weird, because I loved Misery. I thought it was great. I was just done with them after that. Like Tommy Knockers, Dark Hat, any of these Dark Towers thing, Needful Things, Gerald's Game, all the way. And then I went back with things like The Green Mile and, oh gosh, I think that was it until Cell. No, when was Dreamcatcher? Dreamcatcher was 2001. That movie, movie and book, that book fucking sucked. I hated that book.
Yeah, look, you're talking about late 90s Stephen King, where his editor basically is just rubber stamping anything that comes along. There's no pushback for Stephen anymore at all.
And I think he said,
right?
yeah, I was going to say, I think that's when he said he was just the most high of all of that.
That's what fucking really annoyed me about Tommyknockers. Because Tommyknockers was like 87, so I was 14 years old. I'm like growing up with Stephen King, and that book was disappointing. And then a couple of years later, that's when he got sober, and he was like, I don't even remember writing the Tommyknockers. And I was so offended and hurt by Stephen King doing that to me that I think, and that's around the time frame, like him getting sober, that I was like, fuck you, man.
I didn't realize that the Tommyknockers was one of those thick volumes. That's 558 pages as opposed to Misery's 310. My God. I remember I have read The Stand probably 5-6 times maybe. When I see a book like it, though, I'm just like, I don't want to dive into something like this. And
It is the best of them, though.
Really?
I think if you're going to talk about the tome, I guess it's either it or The Stand for me. Like
The Stand,
right? But it's either. Yeah. But you see what I think? It's for some people, it's either it or The Stand. Those are the ones. And so I see, like Father Malone, I see your reaction when I said it. If you're gonna do a thing about people in a main town fighting something, it's gonna be it.
I honestly prefer Needful Things if you're going to talk about his main towns and his big characters, because that's Castle Rock, and those are all of his fucking characters from all of his stories, and it's got the devil in it, and I don't know.
That's fair.
As Max von Sydow as the devil.
Do you know that I attended a test screening of that movie?
Really?
It was real bad then.
Oh boy, I've never seen it.
That I mentioned earlier that I went to conventions starting very young and made a lot of friends with a lot of the dealers and stuff. Tower books were like a rumor among Stephen King fans for a little while there. And I was lucky enough to have a friend who photocopied The Gunslinger for me to read, because he had a copy of that. But this is the same time that the Dark Tower book 2, The Drawing of the Three, came out. So I was able to buy then and still have a first edition of that book. And that was around the same time that Stephen King finally decided, maybe I should start publishing these. So it was like the perfect moment. So I followed Dark Tower all the way through. And if you liked The Stand, Mike, you should. I know it's daunting because there are so many books in the Dark Tower series, but it is well worth your time. It is. If there was a reason Stephen King was put here, aside of horror, if he was meant to do anything else, it's this. It's a magnificent series.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it is a thing unto itself, to Father Malone's point. Like, once you start it, you kind of need to finish it. You need to see it through. But it is unto itself. Like, it and The Stand are that cliff, and then Dark Tower is the cliff of which you jump off, because there's just so much of it.
You know what, though? Why can't I just watch the movie of that?
No one's saying you can't. We're not saying here and saying don't. You know better.
Insanely, that fucking movie that they put out is like a Reader's Digest version of the entire series.
Yeah, boy, it sure is. And they try to make that movie canonical within the scope and scheme of the series of books as well.
It was so absurd.
I know. Good for them. You know what they say? When you start with Ron Howard and you end with Akiva Goldsman, what are you going to do?
I will say this about that movie: was mainly garbage. But if you read the books at all, they describe the way Roland reloads a gun, this magic trick he does with his fingers. And they actually pulled that off in the movie. When Idris Elba is just dropping rounds into the chamber while spinning it like really quickly, I was like, oh, yeah, that's what it looks like. That's the only thing that I took away from that movie.
They did the thing.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what they say? Like we alluded, like you mentioned, and like we've alluded to, there's just some Stephen King stuff that you shouldn't try to film. At least not in a movie. Maybe you do it in a long format, like a TV show. Maybe
and they were planning on doing movies and TV series to supplement it, and it was such a money grab sort of an idea that it like either make it a fucking television series or don't make it, because it is that big. You can't condense these into little 2 hour. But somebody's going to come along and prove me wrong, and I hope they do, because I love the series. But I'm just saying it deserves a longer format.
If they can mine a fucking 3-season show out of the fucking 200 pages of It, they can do a TV show on the Dark Tower. Because that It TV show is just mining something else, like disparate parts of a book that are not being represented even correctly in the TV show. They're doing their own fucking thing.
No,
Dark
you know
Tower,
what? I disagree. I've been watching the series too, and it seems to me that they're just making it. Like, you know,
when given the opportunity to do more It stuff, just do It again.
It takes place in the 60s now instead of the 80s. They get to remake it again.
Kids are on bicycles.
But they're also pulling in, what was the horrible, they made it into a film with Hearts in Atlantis. The organization in Hearts in Atlantis is basically the other sort of aspect that they're playing on there. With the
military knows that Pennywise is a thing and they want to weaponize him. Of course.
Yeah, I'm talking if you haven't watched the show, everybody, Dick Halloran from The Shining is in the series, and he's being utilized by the military as a what is it, a remote viewer, basically, like an artifact that's in the ground or something. I don't know. It's crazy.
And it's that whole thing of he shouldn't be able to see us, but Pennywise saw me. And it's, oh my God, you're just trafficking in all these other things we've seen before. Stephen King, man,
I'm having fun with that, though.
It's weird. I like that it's weird and it's doing its own thing. But man, Stephen King, even now, adapting his stuff, Running Man's coming out. Like, man, must be nice to have so many things people just want to adapt all the time. Since the 70s, my God.
This year has been 4 Stephen King adaptations. I know there's The Monkey, there's The Running Man, there's The Long Walk, and I swear there's another one.
TV show.
The Life of Chuck.
Life of Chuck, yeah.
Life of Chuck, yes. And now the Welcome to Derry, which is not cashing in on Stranger Things whatsoever.
We swear. Or It, which, we swear.
It's a new Stephen King renaissance, I tell you.
It is.
Yeah.
But it's no longer a renaissance for Tales from the Darkside, gentlemen. This is the end of the road, the end of the line. We're saying goodbye to George Romero I never say goodbye to George Romero. I'm thinking about him right now.
As you should.
This is one of the better shows we've watched together. I really enjoyed it. I think it was consistent more or less throughout. There were some higgledy-piggledy moments, but I think it was a good show overall. The movie was a good way to end it as well.
Yeah, the series was hit and miss, but every anthology series is hit and miss, but it was consistently hit and miss. It never just nosedived and never returned. And what a welcome change that was.
That was really nice. Yeah. And I felt, there were some really strong episodes even up to this season. So, yeah, good choice.
Yeah, unlike Tales from the Crypt, which had an entire season that was bad. Like
several.
I guess like the last maybe 2.5. I guess it's better to just have your mediocre to bad episodes spread across everything evenly, as opposed to just like load one whole season up with them and just make it interminable to make it through the entire season. Just make people leave your show.
Just keep firing your staff until you're left with the people who don't give a shit about horror and are burned out and don't ever want to be there or didn't want to be there to begin with. That's who was running Tales from the Crypt. Sorry, fans of Tales from the Crypt. A bunch of people who did not give a shit about Tales from the Crypt ran that show.
And then make financial decisions based on how cheap you want to be. You take the show overseas, and it continues to make the show worse by doing so. Tales from the Darkside never did that.
Darkside never went to Canada.
No, it didn't. Jesus, yeah. Didn't go to Canada, didn't go to the UK, which we've seen these shows do now.
For he's a jolly good fellow for Tales from the Darkside.
Oh, it didn't do that either, to be fair. Thank Christ.
So we say goodbye to this, to that, to the other. Until next time, Chris Dashu, where can people find you if they're looking for you?
WeirdingWayMedia.com is where you can find all the things that I work on, including this and the Culture Cast and Scary Stories We Tell and Shabby Detective and Kolchak Tapes. So yeah. And if you want to support me financially, Weirding Way Media specifically doesn't have a Patreon, but we all have our own. So Father Malone has his at patreon.com/Father Malone. Mike has his at patreon.com/projection booth. And I have mine at patreon.com/culturecast. If you support Mike and I, you get access to the only thing that's not on Weirding Way Media, which is Rankin' on Bond, where we talk about James Bond once a month. And Father Malone has joined us on that twice. So that's where you can find me and everything, literally everything. What about you, Mike White?
Yeah, pretty much the exact same thing all the way down the line, even the Patreon. So thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. But the one Patreon we didn't talk about is Father Malone's, and he'll tell you all about it right now.
He mentioned the Patreon give me money portion of it. Certainly.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
The give me money portion.
But as to what you get there, all the shows come out there early, and we have shows very specific to the Patreon. We've got a comic book horror adaptation going on right now. We've got the Rick Moranis Fest is going on. Star Trek Fest is going on. Anyway, there's a lot going on the Patreon, but you can keep it here too, because every Monday it's Father Malone's Weekly Roundup, where I look at everything that's streaming and or theatrically released, and every Friday it's a rotating. You figure it out. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us here for the Tales from the Dark Side. Until next time, try to enjoy the daylight. Actually, everybody, until next time, enjoy the daylight.
The dark side is always there, waiting for us to enter us. Until next time, try to enjoy the daylight.